Hi everybody, and you're very welcome back. Now in this lesson we're going to look at how we can test for invalid submissions. So using Rails we can write tests to automate the task of testing the forms in our applications. In this lesson we're going to test to confirm that the correct behavior occurs when a form is submitted incorrectly. We'll also write a test for correct submission. We begin by generating an integration test file for signing up users. We'll call this file users_signup. And let's use the Rails generate command to do that now. So here I am in Atom Code Editor. Let me pop open my terminal. Here it is. So Rails generate integration test. So integration underscore test users sign up. Hit enter and see what we get. A new integration test has been created for us. So with our test created, what's next? Well, the purpose of this test is to confirm that when a user clicks the sign up button, if any of the information submitted is invalid, a new user is not created. Our test is going to use the count method. So to take a look at this, let's just open up our Rails console. So Rails console. Give that a sec. Now, what is the count method? Let's say user.count. Oh, capital U, Tony. User.count. And as we can see, in our database, we have one user. So .count queries our database and returns the object number. In this case, the object is user, and we have one user. Now, let's write our integration test. So let's go to test/integration users sign up test. So over here on the left-hand side, test, integration, user sign up test. And here it is here, nice and empty. Or almost empty. And what are we going to say? Well, test invalid sign up. So we're testing for invalid sign up. Invalid sign up information. There we go. Do. So get sign up path. So sign up path, PATH. In a few lessons back, I was leaving out the up part. So make sure I do that there. Get sign up path, assert underscore no difference to user.count. And that's in single quotations. Oh, I've put that in double. Let me just correct that. Single quotations. There we go. Do post users underscore path comma params. So what are the parameters of this? Well, it's not going to be a p, it's going to be a curly bracket, user colon, so name colon. Now that's not a colon, that's a colon. We're going to give the name empty, so we're going to leave the name empty. Now comma, what else are we putting in here? Well, let's say email. So this should be very familiar to you. Email, we're going to give it an incorrect email address. We're just going to say Tony@example. Leave it at that. Make sure it's open and closing double quotation marks, comma. What are we going to put in next? Password, colon. What password are we going to give? Well, let's just give it a nice short one. Pass, something easy. There we go. And then finally, password confirmation. And again, for password confirmation, we're going to give a different parameter than what we just put in for password, because obviously we're creating or we're testing for an invalid user. So let's just say word. And then we close that off with our two curly brackets. Perfect. Now let's end there. Great. And after that end, insert template. And what's the template? Well, it's users/new. We have an end, an end, and an end. There we go. And I think that end actually is not needed. Let me just double check. No, that should be it. So that should come back one. There we go. Let me just fix this code up a little bit. That should come back. There we go. Perfect. Yep, let's save that. Now what we want to do is we want to run Rails test. And this should pass as we wrote the application code before the actual integration test. So fingers crossed. Let me exit out my Rails console. There we go, perfect. Rails test. No, we have an error, and we have an error because there's a syntax error in my test. So let me check that. And what do I think the error could be? Well, as I look back through my code and just have a scan of it here, I see that params here is missing a colon. So let me insert a colon there, save that, and once again, let's see if Rails test works. It started this time, which is great. Perfect. 17 out of 17. As you can see, our test suite is getting bigger each time, which means we're covering more ground, we're testing the application more, which is great. Our tests are working, but let's just step through this code for a moment. Here, on line 5, we start by visiting the sign-up path using a GET request. To submit a form, we issue a POST request to the user's path. On line 7, to submit a form, we issue a POST request to the user's path. The POST function with params user hash expected by user.new in the create action. So what we're doing here is we're passing in what the create action of our controller expects. We've wrapped the POST function in an assert no difference method with a string argument user.count. So what does that mean? Well, this performs a comparison between user.count before and after the assert no difference block. So if it notices a difference, our test has failed. So user.count, if in the database we have only one user, user.count will return 1. Our test here, if we enter in any invalid information, the count should not increase, or the users in our database should not increase, because we should not have created an invalid user. So the user.count should remain at 1. Finally, the call to assert_template checks that a failed submission re-renders the new action. Okay, perfect. Now that we have our test created, let's complete our sign-up form by saving a user. If a save succeeds, a user's info will be written to the database and the user will be redirected to their profile page. To complete the sign-up form, we need to revisit our user's controller. So let's make sure I've saved this, which I have, and now let's go to App. Here I am here on the left-hand side, Controllers, Users Controller. Perfect. Now down here, starting in our create action, so line 13, def create, you can see here we have a comment, handle a successful save. That's what we want to do now. We want to handle a successful save. So if at user.save, what are we going to say? Well, redirect _to at user. So to that user. Here we're using the redirect method and we submit the form and check user.count. So let's do that now. Let me kill that or clear that, save that. Let's start our server. Great, our server's up and running. Let me jump into my application. Here it is here. Let's create an account. So we've already seen an invalid submission. We saw that in the last lesson with the error messaging. Let's now create a valid user. So I'm going to call this user Frank. Email is going to be frank@example.com. Password is going to be, well, let's just something that I'll remember. PASSWORD123. Again, PASSWORD123. Create my account or create Frank's account. Look at this. Successful save because we're redirected to users/2. So a user now with ID 2 has been created in our database. So I can see that in the URL. I also see another sign of success because I'm at Frank's profile page. I also see down here my debug info, ID 2. Now, what I want to do is just to confirm everything, kill my server, done, start my console, perfect, users.count. So just remember, the last time we did this, it came back with 1. Oh, and why do you think it did that? Because it's not users, Tony, it's user, the user object. And look at that, returned 2. We now have 2 users in our database. Okay guys, so that's it for this lesson. It's excellent work. We now have a working sign-up form that will accept, or not accept as it is, invalid submissions and correct submissions. And if this submission is invalid, we get returned with error messages pointing the user into what has gone wrong. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lesson.